HR issues can kill you. One complaint against your company can turn your world upside down. And you spend way too much time dealing with HR when you should be spending your time on making a profit. You should talk to Bambi. With Bambi, get access to your own dedicated US-based HR manager starting at just $99 per month. They get to know you and your business while providing HR expertise and the personal touch you need and want. They're available by phone, email, and real-time chat, so onboarding and terminations run smoothly. Team members reach peak performance, and your business stays compliant with changing HR regulations. And with Bambi's HR Autopilot, you'll automate important HR practices like setting policies, training, and feedback. HR managers can easily cost $80,000 a year, but Bambi starts at $99 per month. Schedule your free conversation today to see how much Bambi can take off your plate. Go to Bambi.com right now and type in Accelerate under podcast when you sign up. It'll really help the show. Spelled BAM, BEE.com. Bambi.com. Type in Accelerate.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Welcome to Accelerate Your Business Growth with your host, Diane Helbig. Diane is a leading small business development and leadership coach, author, and speaker who is passionate about sharing valuable ideas, tips, and techniques with business professionals worldwide. Diane brings you the world's experts and gurus in all things business. Whether it's sales, structure, social media, planning, or plateauing, guests bring their expertise and energy to each episode. When growing your business is your focus, Accelerate Your Business Growth is the show to listen to. Got a topic or guest suggestion? Let Diane know. The goal is to make sure you have the information you need to move your business forward. Thanks for joining us. Settle in and enjoy.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Today's podcast is sponsored by Audible.com. Audible.com is a leading provider of spoken audio entertainment and information. Listen to audiobooks whenever and wherever you want. Get a free book when you sign up for a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/businessgrowth. Accelerate Your Business Growth podcast is continuing to gain recognition as a great resource for small business owners, entrepreneurs, and sales professionals. We consistently are being added to lists of the best podcasts to listen to, and that is really because of the great guests who join me to have a conversation. They share their expertise so that all of you, our listeners, can grab the things that you need and take them into your business so you can be more successful. My guest today is Michael Haynes. Michael is a B2B Customer Strategy Specialist. He has over 20 years experience working with companies in Australia, Brazil, and Canada, helping them to develop and implement customer-driven strategies and programs to drive business growth and improve performance. Michael's worked with startups and SMEs across a range of industries, including professional services, IT, and transportation. He's an advisor with Startup Canada, as well as a mentor with the University of Technology, Sydney. Thanks so much for joining me today, Michael.
Thanks for having me, Diane.
I am thrilled to have you. This topic of, we're going to be talking about pursuing B2B customers as a means for growing your business, and I think a lot of people struggle with that. or they're just not sure how to go about it. So we have a lot we're going to talk about on that subject. And I would actually like to start with a question I have about surveys, and if you think surveys have a role in helping a salesperson or a company listen to their customers and listen to the market so they can find growth opportunities.
Yes, Diane. Surveys have a role to play when you know specifically what exactly you are measuring. But in terms of really trying to get a strong understanding of your markets and your customers, surveys really are not the way to do it. To succeed in business to business, it's really important that entrepreneurs, SMEs really get an understanding of who the buyers and the buying group are, what are their key objectives, their motivations, what are their key priorities, key initiatives on their agenda. And the only way that you really can get a strong understanding of that is by really engaging in dialogue, having a discussion with members of those buying groups to really probe and understand what's important to them, how they're looking for you as a supplier to them to add value. Hence, in order to really understand your customers and understand what you need to be doing in terms of your product, your service offerings, your value adds, it's about having those discussions with the members of the buying group so that you can really understand how your organization can help serve them, and so that hopefully you can become a long-term advisor and partner to those organizations.
I love that. That is really great. I think people so often miss this idea of just actually reaching out and having the conversation to get the answers. Like, sometimes I wonder if it's because they are afraid that the answer won't be the thing that they have to sell, or that people aren't going to want to have the conversation with them, or something that really stops them from just actually engaging in that dialogue.
Yes, Diane, and actually it's really the complete opposite when you're dealing in B2B, particularly when you're going after larger organizations. Your senior buyers, those involved in the buying process, your senior executives, they definitely are keen to have a dialogue and have a discussion with you as a supplier, because they want to make sure you understand what's on their radar, what's important to them. Because in many instances, it's important in terms of driving both business performance, but their own personal objectives as well. And often I've found there's often the default to do nothing as opposed to doing something. So they really need to be very comfortable that you as a supplier really get what's important to them, what they're trying to achieve, what are their challenges. So having that dialogue is very important. Senior executives, buyers are more than happy to have that discussion because they want to make sure you're clear that you're delivering value to them in the means that they require.
That's great. So they really are looking for solution providers, and they know that they have to share information in order to get the right resources. Is that what it comes down to?
Absolutely, Diane. Yeah, they really want to share that information so that you can provide value to them to help them meet their objectives. And it may be not just providing your core offering, but what additional insights, information, advice that you can provide them to help them achieve their objectives. That's what they're looking for in a provider, and that's really how you're going to win. But you can only really understand how you can deliver value, how you can bring new ideas and identify new opportunities to them by engaging in a discussion, in a dialogue.
Awesome. Okay. Let's talk about innovation for a minute, because we live in a time when innovation feels like it's just like on warp speed. There is so much of it, and there's a lot of conversation about it, but I'm wondering how these sales and marketing executives, how they view this idea of innovation. Is it something they embrace?
Yes, innovation is very much the buzzword these days, Diane. But people tend to often, when they talk about innovation, they look at it in a very limited context in terms of either product innovation and or technology innovation. And while that is important, but if you are looking to really grow your business, if you want to remain competitive, you have to do what many subject matter experts call business innovation. So looking at innovation in a much more broader context. So that could be about improving your products or your services, so product or service innovation. It could be about organizational innovation. So how do you structure your business? Who do you engage with? Partnerships, strategic alliances? Who might you co-create with? It can be about marketing innovation, and there are a lot of areas and ways you can marketing innovate. It could be around your processes. So you really have to look at innovation from a business innovation point of view, i.e. across those 5 kinds of innovation, and then look at what are the multiple ways your business can innovate based on the requirements of your markets and your customers so that you can deliver to them. That's how you remain competitive. That's how you're going to be able to grow.
Okay, so if I'm hearing that correctly, that feels to me like the conversations come first. The conversations with the marketplace come first, and then the innovation comes next, based on what you learn in those conversations. Is that right?
That's spot on, Diane. Absolutely correct. You really need to get an understanding of those markets and industries that you're focusing on, then the customers and the buyers within those markets that you're focusing on, finding out what's important to them in terms of what you're delivering, how you're engaging with them. Then that will then drive and develop your innovation plans, your roadmap, where you need to be focusing on. Is it around the products, the services? Is it around how you co-create? How do you market? Combinations thereof. So yes, it's very much getting that understanding first of your market and customers. That will then lead you where to focus your efforts in terms of innovation. And again, thinking about innovation from a business innovation context as opposed to just around product.
Yeah. So that's really great. That feels to me like it would save people a lot of heartache and a lot of expense guessing and going ahead and innovating and then discovering that they are not on the mark.
Yes, that is quite correct. And it also enables startups and small, medium businesses in particular to be quite competitive. It allows businesses in general to be competitive if you're constantly making sure you're in tune with your market and your customers, and then you're innovating on those areas that are important to them. That's also how it keeps you competitive. Just focusing simply on the product or technology, you're going to have your competitors, they're quickly going to jump on board and replicate that. It's by doing multiple forms of innovation, how you can deliver value to your markets and customers, remain competitive, and you're going to be able to grow your business.
Okay. So I think there are probably people listening who are thinking to themselves, okay, I get it, I hear it. But I have limited resources. I have limited money or staff or, assets. So they're feeling like, how are they going to be able to innovate if they are limited in the resources that they have?
Very good point, Diane. So given limited resources, which is something that pretty much I think most startups and small, medium businesses, that's one of their key constraints, is again really around understanding your customers and finding out really what's important to them. And then focusing in on those, it might be just 1 or 2 areas of innovation in terms of how you're going to be able to drive and deliver value. Perhaps, let's say for a startup, small, medium business, you are dealing with some sort of complex technical field. It might be around organizational innovation. So co-creating, working with that customer to develop a solution. So you might focus a lot of your efforts around one particular area, such as organizational innovation. It might be around, let's say, focusing on your marketing. So there could be really opportunities for you to leverage some new kinds of marketing types, such as influencer marketing, advocacy marketing, and focusing on that as a key way to innovate, improve, and help grow your business and deliver value to your customers. So again, it'll come from that listening, understanding your market and customers, understanding really what's important to them, identifying where in your business you have the strengths and you're able to deliver, and then really focusing in. So very much it's around focus in terms around what your strengths are, what's feasible, what's possible, and what's going to deliver value to the customer that you're going after.
Okay, thank you so much for that, because I'm listening to it and I'm thinking to myself, okay, folks, embrace the fact that you have limited resources, because it puts you in a position where you have to do the research first, which is what's going to serve you best. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, great thing. Okay. Now, I have a somewhat, it's probably a shifted question. It probably shifts us to another topic, but I am really curious about this. This is one of these, chicken and egg questions. What do you, how do I want to ask it? Do you think people should hire for skill or fitting in when the position they're hiring is one that's going to be driving growth?
My view, Diane, is that you have to get both. I think in terms of skill, I've been of the view, and from my experience, I think you need to get, if you can try and get that 75-80% of the skills that you need, because you often can skill people up and train them, but the fit and attitude to fit in your organization, that's critical. So I would say the people you're hiring need to have that 75-80% of the skill set ideally, particularly when we're talking small, medium businesses, startups that got limited resources. So you do want them to have most of the skills, but they have to fit in your organization. They have to have the right mindset, being able to work with your fellow employees, with your management team. That fit is critical. So it's a bit of
okay.
But I would
go ahead. A bit of a what?
It's a bit of it. You need to have both, but I would say 75-80 in terms of skill. But you have to have that cultural fit. They have to be able to fit in your organization to work with your people in order to succeed.
Okay, so you can't sacrifice that, but you want to make sure that you're not bringing in people who have no previous experience with revenue growth, because trying to train them up is just, time you don't necessarily have, especially when your resources are limited.
Yes, so you want them to have a majority of the skills that you're looking for that particular function or, roles that you want them to fulfill. Absolutely.
Okay, that's great. Okay, we're going to take a quick sponsor break, and then I have some more questions for you. Accelerate Your Business Growth podcast is happy to be sponsored by Audible.com. Audible.com is a leading provider of spoken digital audio entertainment and information. They have over 150,000 titles to choose from, and you can listen to them on any device, including whatever you're hearing us on right now. If you sign up at our link, which is audibletrial.com/businessgrowth, you get one free audiobook and a 1-month trial of the service. Some examples of books you can listen to on audible.com are Transform Your Company by Alex Vorobieff and The Irresistible Consultant's Guide to Winning Clients by David A. Fields, both of whom have been guests on this podcast. So visit audibletrial.com/businessgrowth, explore the books that are of interest to you, and receive one free audiobook when you sign up for the trial. Today we're speaking with Michael Haynes about the really the value of pursuing B2B accounts in order to accelerate the growth of your business. So, talk to me about disruptive innovation, what that's about, and how a company can use it in their growth plan.
Sure, Diane. So disruptive innovation is really when you're coming up, you're really shaking things up. So it's often about introducing it can be about new products, new technologies that are new to the markets, new to the industries, and obviously new to the customers that you're serving. So it can be viewed from that product/technology context. Disruptive innovation can also be around disrupting the business itself. So really turning your business model in terms of what you're offering, who you're going after, the kinds of offerings, customer experience, really shaking up the whole business model and way of doing business. So that's what disruptive innovation can be. So it can be either around disrupting and coming into something totally new in terms of product and technology, or disrupting the business itself. For startups and small, medium businesses, that can sometimes be a bit of a challenge, which is why many organizations will take another form of innovation known as incremental innovation, which is more about making more moderate incremental improvements and adjustments to what you're offering and how you're delivering to your market and customers.
Okay, thank you for that, because I was thinking to myself, why would a company, and if you have an answer to this, I would love to hear it, why would a company want to go through disruptive innovation? Are there like things that happen that force them into it or that present them with an opportunity to do it? Like, how do they get to that place?
So how do they get to that place? So in disruptive innovation, when we're talking in terms of products and technologies, I think it's very much the aspirations of many startups in particular that, they want to be the next Uber, the next Airbnb, to come up with a total new way of product or new way of doing business, and having those aspirations to then become, that startup that takes off and that does great things on a global level. So that is often a catalyst, particularly for those in very complex technical environments. With respect to really disrupting the business model per se, that's more likely to happen if you're starting to see a real decline in your industry, in your markets, in your overall performance, and you just find that things just aren't working. So despite you're listening and trying to respond, you're still seeing a decline in your revenues, in your market share. That's when you might be looking to really pivot and really alter the business model per se.
Okay, I get it. Okay, so let's talk about this pursuing B2B. Talk to me about why that is such a important part of revenue growth, and maybe like an example process for, if there's a small business owner listening and they are their own sales force and they can be selling to businesses, but they've been selling to individuals, how they could go about launching a B2B selling process.
Okay, so in terms of why B2B, so B2B can be quite attractive if you have the right kinds of products and offerings that are going to appeal to business customers, obviously. It can be quite appealing for a couple of reasons. One, there's often a tendency you'll have your competitive set who you're competing against can often be on a much smaller scale. As opposed to when you're selling products to consumers, you can have a lot more competitors that you have to deal with. Whereas in the business-to-business space, particularly if you're in highly specialized, complex fields that require particular kinds of skills and competencies, your competitive set can be much less. Another big reason why B2B can be quite lucrative and quite a true growth opportunity for startups and small and medium businesses is because business customers tend to be quite loyal when you are delivering and adding value to them, because typically what you're providing to them is going to have a significant impact on them meeting the needs of their end customers and meeting their own business objectives. So once business customers tend to find suppliers that are really delivering value to them and providing the kinds of products and services and advice for them, they tend to stick with them. And not only just stick with them and provide them further business, they'll often refer them to their other colleagues and contacts, other suppliers as well. So you can get that automatic cross-sell and upsell opportunities from your existing customers by serving your customer base quite well. In terms of how someone would start off in terms of getting into the B2B space, I think first you need to do a little bit of research in terms of really understanding the markets that you're looking to go in and those industries, understanding what's happening, and really seeing if there's a fit and a need between what you offer and what the companies in those industries and markets provide. Then it's really about doing some legwork and grunt work. While business to business can be quite lucrative, there is a bit of work to be done in terms of identifying the right kind of companies to go after. Then you need to start finding out, who are the key people that you want to be speaking with in those organizations, so you can start to talk about your offerings, what you have and how you could deliver value to those organizations. And that can take a little bit of legwork, particularly when you're going to larger organizations where there'll be multiple people involved potentially in making a buying decision.
Okay, that's so great. Now, really, I appreciate that, and I hope that the listeners were taking notes during that, because that was tremendously valuable. And you said something before that I want to circle back to, which was as long as you have something that is valuable to a B2B market. And I have found people who sell something that is really business to consumer, and they're very good at it, business to consumer, but they want to sell it to businesses because they think that's where the money is. And that's where the money is, but not necessarily for them. So do you think it's a good idea, bad idea, whatever it is, to try and make a business to consumer product or service into something that's valuable for business, or should people really just focus where their value is? What are your thoughts?
Well, Diane, you really have to, again, that's why you have to do that upfront legwork and do the research, finding out what's going on in the market, because it's sort of a depends situation. You have to do that research to find out what's going on, what are the key drivers, what are the priorities, what's happening in that particular industry, and does your offering, can it really tailor to the requirements of what's happening in a B2B context in certain industries and certain environments. In some situations, yes, it might, and you might have to modify your product or how you service and support it, and it can be a good fit, but in other cases it may not. So it would be a case of doing a bit of research about the market. I would say start to talk to some potential prospects and target companies, and if you can talk to some people in those companies to get a sense of what's the mindset of the owners, senior management team, key leaders in the organization, of what's their priorities, what are they looking for, what are their challenges, what are they trying to achieve, and then you have to make that assessment as to whether or not your offering is really viable or not, whether it be in its current form, or do you have to make some sort of modifications around how you offer it, or do you have to add on some added like training, reporting, coaching, etc., to make it viable in a B2B context.
That's great. Thank you. I am, once again, really hoping people are hearing that this is one of the reasons, and we keep circling back to doing that upfront research, going out and actually talking to the marketplace. Don't assume that you have something that's valuable. Go find out what they need, what's going on, and be really clear and honest with yourself about whether you have something that can be valuable and can be helpful to the B2B marketplace, because otherwise you're going to spend your resources, however limited or abundant, trying to do something that you're just not going to get traction on.
You're absolutely right, Dan. And again, one point that I would add, that when you're going after larger organizations, you want to make sure that you're really tapping into those who make the buying decision. Because a larger organization who makes the buying decision and who has a strategic priority and who's using your product and service offering can be different sets of people. To give a quick example, IT is a perfect scenario. Those who are going to be actually using your IT software and solutions might be very different from the leaders and owners of that organization who have serious objectives about market expansion, acquiring certain kinds of customers. So you really need to get into the mindset of the buyer and finding out what they need and making sure you can deliver to them, and then act accordingly in terms of what you need to do within your own organization, in terms of what you offer, how you deliver in terms of service levels, support, etc. So it's really making sure you tap into the buyers of the product and service, not just the users.
That's a great point. Okay, yeah, that is a great point. Sometimes the buyer and the user are the same person. Most of the time, especially in B2B, they are not.
Yeah.
Or they're not the only user, right?
Yeah, it's particularly when you're going after those larger organizations, because many small, medium businesses, they want to get those big accounts. You know, they want to get the American Express, get into IBM, etc. And that's fantastic, but you need to do your legwork to find out for your particular type of offering, who are those people or that group of people that are going to make the decision, and have discussions with them and tap into their mindset and find out what's on their radar, what keeps them up late at night, what are they looking to do.
Yeah, that's terrific. Okay. Well, Michael, I got to tell you, this so far really has been so valuable, and I'm really hoping that people listen to this a couple of times. I want to sort of shift from selling and ask you a marketing question.
Sure.
A lot of us, when you say marketing, well, some people confuse marketing and selling. That's one thing. But a lot of people also think that marketing is just, advertising or just social media. So can you talk about what you are seeing as some of the more recent approaches and innovations for B2B marketing that folks should know about?
Sure, Diane. I would say that right now in the B2B space, there are really two forms of marketing and innovations that startups and small and medium businesses definitely really need to be tapping into and utilizing as part of their growth strategies. First one would be influencer marketing. So influencer marketing is often very common in the business to consumer space. And when people hear about influencer marketing, they often think about the likes of, the Oprahs or even the Simon Sinek's, what have you. Influencers is all about, in a B2B context, is finding that for your particular industry, for your particular market, for the buyers that you are going after, who are the ones that influence them in making buying decisions? Because typically in B2B, buyers will always do their own research before they pick up the phone to come to you, or even if you proactively, as a salesperson, go to them, chances are, if they're looking to make a purchase, they will have already done their research, and part of that, they will have people that will influence them, and that could be people like industry experts, it could be bloggers, it could be journalists, it could be academics. So it's very important that as B2B folks, in terms of your marketing, you find out, again, the buyers, how they buy. Who do they talk to? What do they read? What do they listen to? And then you want to be tapping into those people, which are the influencers, and be trying to really leverage and be marketing to them and try to work with them so that you can get the exposure, the reach, the credibility for those buyers that you're seeking. So that would be one. The second one is what we call advocacy marketing. And it's all about relating to a point that I spoke about earlier, in which that B2B customers, when they have good suppliers, they will not only hold on to them and give them lots of business, but they will also refer their colleagues and contacts onto them. So what you want to do as a B2B service provider or supplier is to create what we call advocacy programs, where you really encourage, and you're really all about helping your customers to be able to have them succeed, providing them opportunities to promote their business, interact with each other. So by creating that advocacy, those kinds of advocacy programs, you will generate that word of mouth so that your company is being talked about.
Oh, very good.
And Diana, both of these methods, influencer marketing and advocacy marketing, it can take a bit of work, but they can be highly effective because with influencer marketing, influencers can have massive reach and influence to the buyers that you seek. And often it doesn't require a lot of financial investment. It might be doing things like sharing blogs, sharing articles, using the influencers as guest speakers, promoting what the influencers are doing through your social media, through your marketing activities. Similarly, with the advocacy marketing, it can be things like inviting them to your events, inviting them to breakfast, getting some of your customers to be able to participate in events and speak and guest blog. So it doesn't necessarily require a big investment, but the impact it can have in generating the exposure, the word of mouth, is extremely impactful. And in B2B, it's all about word of mouth, because people will go to people who they know and who they trust first. Referral is typically one of the first steps in the purchase decision process. Hence why these two are not necessarily a big cost investment, but the impact can be quite exponential.
That's terrific. Thank you. I seriously, that is so, and it's something that really anybody can do. They just have to figure out what they, who they're focusing on and what they want to do, which leads me to a question about strategy.
Yes.
Yeah. So talk to me some about the need for these small business owners and sales professionals and to even startups to have a strategy for driving growth?
Yes, Diane, you need to have a strategy. Strategy is essential for business success, but conversely to what we often see in big corporate environments, conversely to what you see in many MBA classes, your strategy document should not be hundreds and hundreds of PowerPoint slides to put you to sleep. Your strategy should be pretty short and sharp, but it's all about giving you, telling you where to focus. It should be telling you about which markets, which customers, which industries you want to focus on, based on having an understanding of those markets, those customers, and also your own organization in terms of what your company's purpose is, what your company's trying to achieve, and what its strengths are. So it's knowing about where to focus, then by having an understanding of your markets and your customers, then knowing what you need to actually be doing. So what do you need to be delivering in terms of your products and services, how you need to deliver, how are you going to promote and engage with your customers as well, because that engagement and interaction is quite key to be able to identify how you're going to continually improve and innovate and meet your customers' needs and the needs of your market. So having a strategy and a plan is quite critical and quite important, but it's not an extensive document. It's something that needs to be very live and iterative as you continually need to be engaging with your customers, understanding what's going on in the market, and then making sure you're making the necessary adjustments in terms of what you're delivering to them, how you're delivering to them, how you're engaging, and using that as your roadmap to say, where in terms of business innovation, we're going to focus our efforts so that we can continually to deliver value and we can be competitive and get those kinds of customers that we seek.
Terrific. It's really because a lot of folks don't realize that they're going to be so busy doing so many things, and this is the kind of thing that needs consistency to it. You have to be consistently participating in the process of growth, or you're going to be stopping and starting and finding it really challenging. And at the same time, there's still other things that you have to be doing. So having a strategy gives you the opportunity to not really have to think about it. You just know what you're doing when you're doing it.
Yes, so you will, yeah, absolutely, Diane. You're going to have a strategy, but it's about continually, checking in and looking at, okay, we have our strategy. How are we performing? What's going on with our customers? What's going on in our markets? And then making the necessary adjustments and refinements as you go along. So it's kind of an ongoing process as opposed to a one-off. Let's sit in a room for hours and hours and print and produce this massive PowerPoint deck. It should be something that is really ongoing in the organization because things are happening very quickly in today's environment, as we all well know.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. I'm so not a fan of the big, huge document. So I love that you said that because you're right. It needs to be a plan. You need to monitor it too. I like that as well, that you have to be monitoring it to make sure that it's working, and if it's not, you got to tweak it in real time. Yeah. Wow. So great. So Michael, thank you so much for joining me and sharing this information. Will you let the listeners know how they can find you and what you've got going on?
Sure. So Diane, listeners can find me at my website called listeninnovategrow.com. It's a website that myself and my co-author have created, and it contains tools, templates, articles about the B2B space and what startups and small, medium businesses need to do in order to understand their market and customers, plan and manage and drive their growth. So that's listeninnovategrow.com. On that website, there'll also be free chapters downloads for a new book that my author and co-author and I, Garrett Chandler, have just written, and it's called Listen, Innovate, Grow. And the book is all about what you need to do to understand yourself, your customers, and your markets. How do you go about planning your business and business innovating, and then how do you manage growth? And so again, the downloads are on the website, listeninnovategrow.com, and the book can be purchased from Amazon.com.
Awesome. That's so great. Thank you. And like I said, thank you for joining me. Excuse me. I'd also like to thank our listeners and our sponsor, Remember, in order to get a free trial of audible.com and a free audiobook, go to audibletrial.com/businessgrowth. And as always, continue to prosper and be curious. And until we meet again on another episode of Accelerate Your Business Growth, goodbye and good day.
Hi, my name is Sarah, and I want to tell you about my podcast called Can I Offer You Some Feedback? I'm a business consultant and executive coach with over 20 years experience in change management, leadership development, and naturally providing feedback to high performers. My podcast is for those of you who have a complicated relationship with feedback, whether giving, receiving, avoiding, or seeking. Feedback is essential for our development. In each episode, you'll hear from real people across industries with their ideas, perspectives, and best practices on feedback. I'll also be sharing business bites with you, simple explanations of organizational tools, management techniques, and leadership philosophies that will help you and your businesses thrive. You can listen to Can I Offer You Some Feedback on your favorite podcast app or learn more at evergreenpodcasts.com.